BlueRiver has just won the largest contract in its history. It looks like a success story, and it may become one, really. But the signed contract is not the same as a reliable capability to deliver. In this new series, we'll follow BlueRiver as it builds a quality management system aligned with ISO 9001:2026. Well, based on the final draft international standard. We will not begin with procedures, forms, or a clause by clause checklist. We'll begin with the business problem. The company has promised results that its current system may not be able to produce consistently. So, the central question for this episode is therefore simple. What results must the quality management system make possible? Now, for viewers meeting BlueRiver for the first time, this is a mid-sized producer of bottled water and flavored beverages. It operates one production site, employs about 145 people, and supplies retailers, hotels, restaurants, and a small number of private label customers. BlueRiver has grown through energy, personal commitment, and a strong willingness to solve problems. People know their jobs, managers are accessible, and customers appreciate the company's flexibility. But much of the organization still depends on informal coordination. Information moves through spreadsheets, emails, phone calls, and conversations in the corridor. Now, when volumes were lower, experienced people could compensate for weaknesses in the system. As the company grows, that heroic way of working is becoming less reliable. The new series will show how BlueRiver turns that pressure into a practical management system, one decision and one process at a time. Now, the new customer is a national retail chain launching a private label product. The contract will increase BlueRiver annual production volume by about 28%. It also introduces tighter delivery windows, customer specific labels and packaging, formal approval of changes, monthly performance reporting, and financial consequences if BlueRiver repeatedly delivers late or supplies non-conforming product. Now, sales sees growth, finance sees revenue, the production manager sees longer campaigns and fewer gaps in the schedule. Purchasing sees more materials and more pressure on suppliers. Quality sees additional specifications, approvals, inspections, and records. The contract is not simply more of the same. It changes the conditions under which the company must operate. It also creates new dependencies. One outdated label, one missed supplier delivery, or one unplanned equipment failure can now affect a national customer. At the announcement meeting, the mood is positive. Then the questions begin. Can the current filling lines absorb the extra volume? Has maintenance assessed the effect of longer operating hours? Can approved suppliers provide the new bottles, caps, and labels at the required frequency? Who confirms that the latest customer artwork is the version used in production? How will urgent customer changes be reviewed before they reach the line? Can the laboratory release products without delaying dispatch? Nobody's being negative. They are exposing the differences between winning work and having a system capable of fulfilling it. A quality management system must help the organization convert commitments into repeatable operational results. Flexibility will still matter, but it must become controlled flexibility. Fast responses based on clear information, competent decisions, and understood consequences. Before the new contract has even started, the current system is already sending warning signals. On-time delivery has fallen during peak weeks. production plans are changed several times a day because materials, people, or equipment are not available as expected. A recent packaging mix-up caused relabeling, waste, and a delayed shipment. Complaints are answered individually, but no one can easily show whether the same causes are recurring. And the senior planner knows how to resolve most conflicts, but much of that knowledge is not visible to others. None of these problems prove that the contract will fail. Together, however, they show that BlueRiver cannot rely on optimism. Okay? It needs a structured diagnosis of its ability to deliver the intended results. The aim is not to collect every possible weakness. It is to identify the few weaknesses that could prevent successful launch or create repeated failure once volumes increase. This is where many implementation projects take a wrong turn. So the organization asks, what documents do we need for ISO 9001? So it begins writing procedures before understanding what the system must achieve. BlueRiver will start differently. Documents may be necessary, of course, but they are not the purpose of the quality management system. The better question is, what must work together for BlueRiver to meet customer, legal, and organizational commitments consistently? That question directs attention to processes, responsibilities, resources, information, controls, decisions, and feedback. It also prevents the implementation project from becoming a separate compliance exercise disconnected from the business. Now, a quality management system is not a binder and it's not a quality department. It is the connected set of processes through which the organization understands the requirements, plans work, provides resources, controls operations, monitors performance, responds to problems, and improves. For BlueRiver, the system must make several results possible at the same time: conforming products, reliable delivery, effective response to customer needs, controlled change, useful performance information, and the ability to learn from failures. These results are produced across departments. Sales can accept requirements that operations must fulfill. Purchasing can create production risk. Maintenance can protect or disrupt capacity. Quality can provide assurance, but it cannot manufacture capability on behalf of the rest of the organization. The system, therefore, has to connect commercial decisions with operational reality and ensure that problems become visible before the customer experiences them. So the implementation team begins by translating the contract into intended system results. BlueRiver must deliver the correct product, quantity, packaging, and labeling. It must meet the agreed delivery windows. It must control specifications and customer requested changes. It must be able to demonstrate product conformity, approval status, and traceability. And when performance begins to deviate, it must detect the signal early and respond effectively. Now, these statements are still high level, okay? Later, they will be converted into objectives, indicators, operating criteria, responsibilities, and evidence. But they already provide something essential, a test for every future element of the system. Does this process, control, record, or meeting help BlueRiver achieve one of the intended results? If the answer is no, the team should question why it exists. If the answer is yes, the team should define how its effectiveness will be known. So, the intended results cannot be defined only from the customer contract. BlueRiver must also consider applicable and product requirements. The company itself needs acceptable margins, stable operations, sufficient capacity, and manageable risk. Employees need clear priorities, competent support, and processes that do not depend on constant firefighting. And suppliers need accurate requirements and realistic forecasts if they are expected to perform reliably. This does not mean every interested party has equal influence over every decision. It means that the quality management system must be designed with the relevant requirements and constraints in view. A contract can be commercially attractive and still be operationally destructive if the system needed to deliver is not understood. BlueRiver now knows what results the system must make possible. But different customers expect different things, and some of those expectations conflict. In the next episode, BlueRiver must decide whom it intends to serve, which needs and expectations are relevant to its QMS, and what those choices mean for the system it is about to build. To diagnose the current state, BlueRiver follows one customer order from beginning to end. The sequence crosses sales, customer service, planning, purchasing, warehousing, production, quality control, release, dispatch, and complaint handling. The team does not begin with the organization chart because customers experience the result of the complete flow, not the performance of isolated departments. At each step, the team asks, what information is needed? Who decides? What can go wrong? What resources are required? How is the output accepted? What happens when something changes? This simple process view begins to reveal the real system, the handoffs, the dependencies, feedback loops, and decision points that determine whether the promise becomes a successful delivery. It also makes local optimization visible. For example, a production decision that improves line efficiency but causes dispatch delays or excessive finished goods inventory. BlueRiver organizes the findings into four types of gap. Capability gaps, so concern whether the organization has sufficient equipment, people, competence, infrastructure, and supplier capacity. Process gaps concerns unclear sequences, weak handoffs, undefined acceptance criteria, or missing ownership. Information gaps include outdated specifications, inconsistent data, poor visibility of performance, and knowledge held by only one or two people. Management gaps appear when priorities conflict, decisions are delayed, escalation is unclear, or actions are agreed but not completed. So this classification is useful because not every weakness is solved by writing a procedure. So a capacity problem may require investment or scheduling changes. A supplier problem may require qualification and development. A decision problem may require clearer authority and management discipline. So for each gap, the team records evidence, likely consequences, existing controls, and the owner of the next decision. This creates a usable management diagnosis rather than a generic list of observations. And the first conclusion is not that BlueRiver should reject the contract. The conclusion is that the contract cannot be delivered reliably through business as usual. 5 areas require immediate attention: production planning and the assumptions used to calculate capacity, control of customer specifications, artwork, and changes, supplier reliability for the new packaging materials, coordination between laboratory release and dispatch, and performance monitoring with clear escalation when agreed conditions are not met. So, other improvements can follow, but these are critical before or during launch. The diagnosis has converted general anxiety into a manageable set of priorities. It also gives top management a basis for deciding what resources, changes, and controls are needed. So some actions must be completed before the first customer order. Others can be tested during a controlled ramp up with explicit monitoring and contingency plans. BlueRiver now creates a short implementation project charter. Its purpose is to build a quality management system that enables reliable fulfillment of customer and other applicable commitments. The initial scope follows the value from customer requirements through order review, planning, supply, production, verification, release, delivery, and feedback. The operations director sponsors the project, while a cross functional team represents the process that must work together. The approach will be to diagnose, design, test, deploy, and evaluate, not to write everything at once. Most importantly, success will not be defined only as obtaining certification. Success means that BlueRiver can demonstrate stronger capability, more stable processes, better decisions, and more consistent results. Certification may confirm the maturity of that system later, but it cannot substitute for operational evidence that the contract is being fulfilled reliably. So, at the end of episode 1, BlueRiver has not written a quality manual and has not produced a library of procedures. It has done something more important. It has defined the results the system must make possible, determined the most important barriers to those results, and established a focused implementation project. In the next episode, the team must decide where this quality management system begins and ends, what internal and external conditions matter, which interested parties' requirements are relevant, which activities, products, locations, and outsourced processes must be included. That is how BlueRiver will move from a business challenge to a credible QMS scope. Now, these are the next episodes. So episode 2 is about who should BlueRiver serve, okay? So which customers and expectations should shape BlueRiver QMS, okay? So we saw that BlueRiver supplies hotels, retailers, private label, so brands. So this means that different kinds of customers require different things. Sometimes even things that go one against the other. So who should BlueRiver really serve? Episode 3 is about where does the QMS begin and end, okay? And episode 4, leadership, culture, and the decisions people make. Now, if you need support with the transition to ISO 9001-2026, or if you want to improve or implement your quality management system, I may be able to help. I also support organizations that are starting from the beginning and want to implement ISO 9001 in a practical, business-oriented way. You can contact me using the email shown on the screen or send me a direct message on LinkedIn.